It's time once again for another episode of the Buckhead Business Show. Being brought to you by the Buckhead-Business-Association. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now, here's your host for today's episode.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Buckhead Business Show, sponsored by the Buckhead-Business-Association. Rich Casanova here playing the role for moderator and host for this episode. And we're very excited to introduce the folks in the studio going to be joining us for this very first in the launch and the kickoff. Long time anticipating. And if you're not familiar with the Buckhead-Business-Association, you will in about the next 30 minutes. You're going to hear from presidents, incoming presidents, board members, and so forth. And we are reaching not only the members of the Buckhead-Business-Association, which we're going to hear a little bit of history from the presidents about the organization, how to get involved, what's their mission and their purpose, and so forth. But at the same time, we'll invite folks that are not familiar with the group to, if you're in the Buckhead or in Metro Atlanta area, certainly want to join in and attend some of their amazing events, which we'll also mention those as well. So let's go ahead and introduce our guest joining us here in the studio. And if you'll just maybe give us a little bit about a background of yourself, your hat that you wear within the Buckhead Business Association, but also your day job, if you will. So first up, Greg Davis, welcome to the show. And you are the actual current president of the BBA.
I am. I'm Greg Davis. I'm by trade a CPA. My firm is Metcalf Davis CPAs, and I'm the president for another 6 weeks.
All right. All right. And so as your tenure comes to a roll, I'm going to ask you some highlights during your role and about the group and the organization. But let's turn our attention and just do a welcome to the other guests joining us in the studio as well. And up next, we have a gentleman with Georgia Primary Bank, David Coxon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here today, and got a hard act to follow here, Greg. And Greg's really set the bar for next year as the president-elect, so I'm really excited about next year.
Yeah, and you'll be taking over the reins. It's a calendar year as the president, right?
It is, January to December.
All right. So very excited. We'll hear maybe what you see on the horizon and some thoughts on the upcoming and your involvement, because you don't just walk into the presidency, right? You just didn't show up at a breakfast. You're like, hey, you want to take the role?
Well, it kind of started that way a couple of years ago, no doubt about that. And I think, a lot of, like with anybody else, is how dedicated you are and involved you feel you're a part of the community. And, and it's not hard to get involved with something like BBA, but when you really feel pride in the community you live in, you want to be a part of something like BBA.
Absolutely. So, all right. And then also joining us is a roundtable discussion, Chris Godfrey. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And you are the young buck in the group, which is a great name for the up-and-comers and they're very active members. Tell us a little snippet about the Young Bucks.
Absolutely. So the Young Bucks is the under 35 young professionals of the Buckhead Business Association. And we've really had just a great year of just ramping up and getting the young professionals in Buckhead involved in the community.
Okay. And we'll hear more about their role and what they do as far as the Young Bucks and within the Buckhead Business Association. And finally, joining us in the studio, not a stranger to the studio, Joanne Hayes, the publisher of Simply Buckhead. And tell us a little bit about your role at the BBA.
Yeah, it's great to be back in the studio. It was a lot of fun the year that we were here. I have been the co-vice president of programs for this year and helped arrange all the speakers, the guest speakers for the breakfast meetings and the signature luncheon. And we're currently working very hard to secure our annual luncheon speaker for the January event.
All right, so you're taking nominees and auditioning for that? Is it like a reality show?
No nominations. We go straight for the top. So we're looking at some big-time names.
Well, if I had Richard Branson's phone number, I'd give him a call, but yeah.
Actually, just saw a picture of him on Instagram last night presenting an award to Ted Turner in Paris.
Wow. He is an inspiring entrepreneur. Yes,
totally.
Or yes?
Absolutely.
Right?
Totally.
Well, he's not here in the studio today, so we're going to focus on those folks that are here. So let's begin with our current president, Greg. So tell us a little bit of your. Give us a backstory on the BBA. Let's start from the beginnings, if you will.
Well, the BBA has its roots back to 1951. It's been kind of a fixture here in the Buckhead community. We've had, like all organizations, our peaks and valleys, but we're on the up this past year. We're having a very good year. BBA kind of brings the leadership of the business leaders of the community, serves it's not really as a role like a chamber. The Buckhead Coalition kind of fills that, but it does kind of bring together government leaders, not-for-profit leaders, business leaders of the community, and as we talked about, as Chris has led this year, some leadership training for some of the younger future leaders of the organization too.
And some 60-year history, right?
It is.
And amazing work that they've done within the community, the business community. And how many members are currently?
We currently have about 270 individual members, who represents a little over 200 different businesses here in the community. So, but had a growth in the number of businesses. We're pretty flat on as far as individual memberships, and one of the reasons that we formed this partnership with your organization to help differentiate our membership from others.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a organization like y'all that have their own show now moving forward as a weekly platform to kind of not only get the message out, but it's a great opportunity as an invite to the current members, an added value. I'm thinking if I was, well, I am, but as a member of the not an if, but as a member of the BBA organization, you have an opportunity to come in and talk about your business in a pro-business arena and format. And then for potential, we always looking for new blood, right? And new members to join. And I mean, why not?
We're very excited about this opportunity, and had good. We've been discussing this for nearly a year, and this is kind of the kickoff and going into next year. But I've talked to some of our sponsors and other members, and they're very excited about opportunities, and we're kind of trying to pin down how we're going to make this evolve. And I'm happy that Joanne has agreed to stay on the board next year and work with us on that too.
Absolutely. And so in a moment, we'll kind of turn the open question to opportunities to be a member at different levels, right? Sponsorship and in different organizations. So give us a little snapshot before we move on to some additional conversation about your year looking back. There's some things that you're...
Well, some of the goals that we had at the beginning of the year were really to offer meaningful programs that provide and diversity in the programs. Not just you can always get a speaker for a meeting, but we tried to have some very diverse programs. And Joanne has worked with and Rob has worked to help us do that this year. We sought to revitalize the Young Bucks, and that's where Chris came in and had very successful, and he could tell you more about the opportunities that we offered for the Young Bucks. Another item, I think this year, we wanted to promote the organization in the community. Okay. And one of the ways that we've done that is we've just had a survey of the community. We'll be releasing that in the next couple of weeks, the results of that, but had very good response, 167 respondents about what people see going on in the community, the issues, and we will use that hopefully as in the years to come to kind of plan our programming and to see what role we could play in helping to solve those issues. Right.
So, like any good business, best practices come into play, and to get that feedback and input from the membership is a great opportunity to further the group and the organization.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing the results of that, publicly with our members and our partners in the BBA, and we think we can, together as a community, we can play a role in solving those problems.
All right. Well, well said. Greg, let's turn our attention now to David Coxon. Just want to remind our listeners you're listening to the inaugural episode for the Buckhead Business Show, sponsored in part by the Buckhead Business Association. And so David is the president and CEO of Georgia Primary Bank, located in the heart of Buckhead community. Georgia Primary is a boutique full-service community bank where the primary focus is on the customer. And so welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Rich.
Absolutely. So how long have you been wearing the hat as the president and CEO over there at Georgia Primary Bank?
Since 2012.
Okay, and now you have a new hat you're going to start to wear come the new year.
Exactly. Looking forward to it. Excited. As I said a little earlier in the show, it's a real opportunity to, I think, take the platform of what we've done through 2015 and carried on into 2016 with continuing to build membership and the activity and the community involvement that the BBA has been so proudly associated with over the years.
So talk to us, if I were a listener not familiar with the group or considering becoming a member, give us your best sales pitch, if you will, of the value of what you all bring to the table for a business owner or entrepreneur.
Well, I think like so many other associations, there are many out there in which you try to decide where is the value, and I think the value is in the membership. It's a member-driven organization, and I think while we have a mission to provide a citizenship around our community, it's really like a lot of things. It's going to be based on what you put into it, what you get out of it. And we have several programs. We have 60-plus programs a year, and centered around three primary highlights of the year. We have our annual luncheon that usually takes place in January, where we recognize a lot of businesses from Entrepreneur of the Year to some people who have major impacts on our community, to our signature luncheon that's usually sometime midsummer that really recognizes the public servants in our community that are first responders and other people who have had definite impact on the day-to-day lives of our community here. And then we usually have something in fall called the Taste of Buckhead, where we showcase a lot of good eatery that Buckhead's so well known for. So outside of those events, the main thing is the association, not so much the networking. Networking is kind of an indirect benefit, but it's the direct result of something that we talked about in terms of pro-business, getting to know people who you can partnership with and create value and synergy among the organization.
You mentioned the Taste of Buckhead, which is one of their signature events for the year. It was an amazing event. We were honored to be there as one of the media partners, and we covered the live recording and captured about 24 interviews, and there's about 600-700 people in attendance. Mm-hmm. And we were running some of the stats. There's been more listens and downplays of those shows than actual attendees. And what's cool about the Evergreen platform is it just continues. More people will tune in and listen to those recordings. So we appreciate you being on the show here, David. We're going to jump around to each guest and then open it up for some open discussion as well. So let's turn our attention now to Chris Godfrey, and you are the president of the Young Bucks as part of the BBA.
I sure am, and I tell you, it's been an exciting year. We've seen a lot of growth, and I think we came into the year. Greg and I sat down early and back in a year ago now, and really set some objectives, and I think we've been able to exceed a lot of those.
Exceeded them.
Nice.
Because our focus this year has really been on social service and leadership development.
Okay.
And so with that, we surround ourselves with the great Young Bucks committee that we just started off the year, and we were like, this is our vision. We want to grow, but we want to allow an opportunity for young professionals to get involved in an organization that allows you to grow and professionally, personally. And so there's allowed for a lot of that. So I think Young Bucks has definitely achieved what we've set off to this year, and even so much as the board next year. I think we have 4 or 5 Young Bucks that are actually going to be
on the board for the first time.
Board for the first time.
We're excited about that.
And what is the role of the president for the Young Bucks? Is that how long have you been president, and how long has the group been around the Young Bucks?
Sure. Well, the Young Bucks has been around a little while.
Yeah.
About 15 years.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But it's been kind of silent for the last few years, and Chris has done a great job of getting it revitalized.
So when I got involved with BBA, I knew I wanted to get involved with the young professional group, because they were like, oh yeah, we have something called Young Bucks, and we didn't really do too much that year. And so I was approached last year to step up and help spearhead this, and so it's been a really exciting year of just setting up some guidelines for what we can do in the future.
Yeah. Georgia State University provides some sponsorship of that program, and along with some other sponsors, and so we have some special events just for the young bucks. We won't let I tell the board, us older folks, you can't come to this. This is for the young bucks. Get some of your younger associates to come to it. It's been very meaningful, I think, for them.
I know one day when I grew up, I want to be have that Monarch, the Atlanta under 40, but it's a little too late at a certain point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, to reach that milestone. So talk to us just give a plug, if you will, for your day job, your business. You're involved in commercial real estate, right?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm with Avison Young, and we are a commercial real estate advisory firm here in Atlanta. And my specific role is office tenant representation. So helping businesses as they're growing and need more space, or want to re-up their lease, or if they're contracting. So be happy to help you out with your real estate needs.
Yeah. And you said you're out early this morning doing a showing.
Yeah, we got a bright and early morning start. So.
Nice. All right. So thanks again for joining us on the show. We'll have some follow-up panel conversation as well, but we want to rejoin Joanne Hayes joining us in the studio. Like we said, not a stranger. You've been on a number of shows here in the studio.
Absolutely.
With Simply Buckhead.
I have my own show.
I'm telling you, it's good radio. Yeah.
Although I think
natural.
This is a great opportunity because, I've been a BBA member since August of 2010, and that came way before me doing the radio show.
Right.
This sort of is a natural segue.
Yeah.
But yes, we've been very excited to be back in the studio and to be a part of what BBA is doing because I've been an active member for so long.
Well, in just a minute, I want to ask you about maybe some of the community or the nonprofit leg of the BBA, because I know David touched on there's about 60 different opportunities. And I know on your show that we had in the studio, you quite often had representation from the nonprofit community. But let's do kind of a little backstory on your part. You're a 20-year veteran of the publishing industry and a media partner as well with the BBA.
Absolutely.
And those folks are not familiar with Simply Buckhead. If you've been here for a week, you probably have seen it, right?
It's kind of hard to miss. We're in 250 locations. So.
Yeah, we have it on all 3 floors in our lobby here as well. So, so give us a little snapshot, 30-second, about the historical backdrop on Simply Buckhead magazine.
Oh boy, 30 seconds?
Yeah, I know, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so we launched the magazine from scratch in 2010. We've just completed our 5th year, and actually putting out our January, February issue is the start of our 6th year of issues. Doing absolutely fantastic. 2015 was a great year. And we've got a terrific team. We've got a great creative editorial and photography team, as well as a super dynamic sales team. Right. Very proud to be here and very proud to help promote the Buckhead community here and elsewhere. We've been read all over the world. So,
and I know you always promote the BBA throughout the magazine. Yes. It's always very exciting to see who's on the front cover or whatever, right? And can never get
surprise. We don't tell.
I know, right?
Never. And we shot it this week. Our January, February cover is going to really blow people's minds. It's a money issue, so it's kind of hard to have a sexy money issue cover. But we came up with a really clever, creative idea. I think people will be very surprised.
I don't know. I think money could be pretty sexy. Whatever.
If I told you what my husband's idea was, you'd all laugh, but we decided not to go
we'll talk after. So now switch your hats to the BBA. So you've served as the co-VP of programs and the board of directors for the BBA. And talk to us about the member newly formed Diversity and Inclusion Council for the Atlanta Hawks, right?
Yes, that's one of my really great adventures this year. Zing Shaw was one of our speakers earlier in the year from the Atlanta Hawks. She's the newly appointed Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the Atlanta Hawks. And this is the first time in our country that any professional sports team has actually brought somebody in-house to have that role. So she has been very active this first year, and one of her first duties was to form a Diversity and Inclusion Council. And I was invited as one of 9 outside the Hawks personnel to be a member, partly because of our diversity. In the magazine world, you'll see our covers are, all over the map. We don't do any of those sort of themed or superlative type issues. So we look for things that are very much outside the box culturally, and just even with our themes, we try to find things that are not being seen. So that role for me is, again, very natural. And my role there is to help out on the fan experience and also some of the outside community development that the Hawks are looking for.
And speaking of the Hawks, you brought Dominique Wilkins in the studio, right?
We had a great show with Neek the
During
week that he
Neek
was
Week.
being honored. Yes, it was fabulous with Steve Holman and
Oh, yeah.
Bob Rathbun and Rutherford Siddell. It was a great show.
So we are not ashamed of dropping names here at the Business Channel and on behalf of the BBA. All right, so talk to us, and then we're going to open up some little panel discussion here, but talk to us about kind of community and nonprofits and their involvement or synergy with the BBA.
Well, I think we're talking about the diversity and the speakers that we had this year. We really tried hard to have a blend of folks that came from the government world and some that came from the nonprofit world, as well as, businesses that had a message that maybe weren't just standing up there to try and sell a product. So it's important that I think our membership is aware of some of the nonprofit activity here because they like to get involved. Buckhead is very philanthropic, and, as you can see from our magazine's focus, we cover that quite a bit. So that diversity and that blend of nonprofit exposure, I think, is important for BBA, but we also tie it into a lot of themes where the members are exposed to topics that are important and relevant. One of my favorite topics that we had this year was an attorney, Sonia Lakhani, I think is her name. Am I saying it right? But she's a trademark and intellectual property attorney, and with the way things are going right now with social media, etc., she was a great diverse fit for us without her trying to sell a product.
Right.
So, but the nonprofit aspect is very big because Buckhead is so philanthropic.
Well said. And so let's open it up to all of our panelists, if you will, and some additional insight on the BBA. Once again, you're listening to the Buckhead Business Show, sponsored by the Buckhead Business-Association here on the Pro Business Channel. And Rich Casanova, your moderator, and we're joined by presidents and folks with the BBA. And so speaking of speakers, just let's do a little more name dropping. You had folks in from Uber. Was it?
We did.
Right? And last week I was in, it was great. I mean, it was like standing room only for the EVP, Derek from the...
Derek Schiller from the Atlanta Braves.
I was telling folks about that. People were just, their minds were blown by what they're bringing to the table.
Right.
And some of the misperceptions, right?
Right. They are. And there again, I think Derek told a little bit more about the reasons for the Atlanta Braves making the move that they did that a lot of people, I don't know, I don't think you've read some of this stuff in the newspaper. And another reason to get up early and come to the Buckhead Business Association where you can hear it first.
And let's talk about those events in just a moment, as well as the general organization and the Young Bucks. But speaking of that experience at that breakfast, I think one of the biggest misnomers is traffic issue. Mm-hmm. But he raised an amazing point that where it's currently located, downtown, there's only 2 entry points.
And there'll be 14 in the new location.
Yeah, that was like, the numbers tell the whole story. So so speaking of stories, tell us about some of these events that
Well, before we do, one of the speakers we had was from the Atlanta Community Food Bank.
Oh, yeah. Bill Boland?
Bill Boland.
Who's retired since
He's
then.
now retired since that time. But it kind of set the stage, and our organization had an event there about 3 weeks ago.
We've gotten to do a couple of things with them because the Young Bucks did a food garden for them as well.
Right. And we had like 22 people that went down and packed food. It's kind of a hands-on work putting back into the community, which is, there again, it's something a little bit different. Our organization has not done that in the last few years, and it's one of the things that I always believe that you need to give back to the community. This was an opportunity that we had to do that.
Well, I think we'll do it again. I think the experience was so good that people felt great coming away from that. I think, 13,500 packages that
Something
night?
like that, yeah.
We weren't alone, but just the impact you can have on a community, so that was great.
Well, when they see you on the front lines and doing good work, it's very inspiring, and people want to become, join something bigger than themselves, right?
Absolutely.
That's right.
So, David, turn our attention to the upcoming year. Is there any teasers you can give us as far as events, or just highlight some of the go-to events?
Well, again, I think just kind of going back to what I said a little earlier, just the highlights probably are in the Thursday morning meetings.
Okay.
We meet 3 times a month on Thursday, the first, second, third Thursdays of the month from 7:30 to 9.
Okay.
Have a little social time, and then we have our program that usually runs from about 8 to 9 o'clock.
And that's the city
City Club. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then once a month we have a social in the evening. Of course, that brings a whole different group. We get a lot more of Chris's folks to attend involved with us. Some of us that get up early versus those that stay up late. So have a great time. As I mentioned, we really have 3, I think, key activities during the year that we draw a really diverse crowd of not just the membership but non-members to come in that get exposed to what BBA is about. Start off with our annual signature luncheon, our annual luncheon in January.
Right.
And the most notable thing is we recognize outstanding citizens, both business and individuals, for what their impact is on the community in Buckhead. We end up in the middle.
We'll have over 300 people at that at that event. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that event coming up. It's the third Thursday of in January.
In January 21st.
20, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was honored to attend last year's compliments of the Simply Buckhead invite, and it was like spectacular. You felt like you were at the Grammys or something. It's very well staged. The presentation.
It is.
The speaker. I think you had
Jan Singer from
Spanx.
Yeah.
Smeed, our executive director, puts that together, and she does a fabulous job of helping to organize that, and just we're very proud of that event. And that is actually the time when we change leadership, when I officially become the past president. The goal of every president is to be past president, and we'll be turning the reins over to David at that meeting.
That bad, huh?
That's where the.
It's been a wonderful year. It's been a wonderful time this year.
Trust me, you'll be crying a few tears or whatever. Yeah, you'll miss it. Yeah.
But speaking of being far away.
Speaking of Smita, I'm glad you mentioned her because we were remiss not to bring her to the conversation. And being on this ongoing platform, we'll have lots of opportunity to have you all back, as well as representations from your different committees and groups. And Smita, but she is kind of the glue for this whole group, right? Yes, sir. Yes.
She is. She's no, very much so. She's the one paid employee of the group, and I mean she's working right now feverishly on the annual luncheon and trying to put things together for that, and that's why we can't announce any more than we have because we're still working on those events. But she can she kind of has her place in everything. The planning the socials, the major events, follows up for us on membership and just does a wonderful job.
But with that also, there's an opportunity to really get involved with BBA.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think that's something that a lot of people look for in the community is how do you get involved? And I think with BBA, the options are endless. If there's something that you want to set forth, like Bob did a great job getting together a community service at the Atlanta Community Food Bank, and Smitha is able to help coordinate all of that.
Sure, and I think we ought to encourage people that are listening to go to our website.
Could give a plug.
I think by going to the website, you can certainly look to the mission, people who are on the board, other membership in the directory, and really get a sense of what we're doing, along with the mention of showing up on a Thursday morning,
right?
Getting to know us face to face.
There's a calendar of events on there that tells what's going on in the organization.
So buckhead-business.org.
Yeah, buckhead-business.org. All right, so a couple of closing comments before we wrap out this inaugural episode of the Buckhead Business Show. So what's on? Well, you mentioned the invite, so give the plug one more time, if you would, Chris, as far as joining, and there's different levels of membership, and then maybe have someone else chime in on sponsorship opportunities.
Sure. Well, there are several different ways to get involved. If you're a young bucks and you want to get involved there, that actually gives you membership into the Buckhead Business Association. So not only are you joining young bucks, but you're able to be involved with the BBA as a whole. So a really great opportunity. Like this year, we had David Cumming from the ATV, Derek Schiller with the Braves, and I mean, just keeps going. Just the people that you get to meet and hear what's going on in the city. So that's one level of membership. But then also, if your company organization wants to join, there's different levels of membership there as well.
Yeah, again, we're always looking for sponsorship for the purpose of helping to support and provide the program we need ourselves. We're a key sponsor. That allows us to have a number of people involved from a corporate level and the individual levels, but we welcome every opportunity to discuss sponsorships and involvement with the community. And all you need to do is contact one of us and certainly Smita as well, and we'll be glad to discuss that with you.
Individual memberships start at $200 and go to $10,000. We've got a couple of signature sponsors. Gas South is a signature sponsor of the Taste of Buckhead and a tremendous community partner for us. But there's other sponsorships levels that start around $2,000, and you get various. You can help design those sponsorships. We're very flexible in what you in adding value for individual businesses towards that membership, and one of those hopefully is future chance to talk on this show as we go on.
Absolutely. Well, and this will be on the site as well. But just give a quick plug. If you'd like to be considered as a guest, just go to simply the domain name buckhead-business-show.com, as well as links will be on the Buckhead Business Association website. And there's a guest scheduling application process to be considered if you want to nominate a guest or consider yourself as a guest. And we encourage active members as well as maybe folks that are considering membership here in the Buckhead community. So with that, Joanne, any closing thoughts or comments?
No, actually, I'm very excited for this upcoming year. We've had a great year, 2015. We've mentioned some of the fabulous speakers we had. Others included Myrna White, the Director of Public Affairs from the airport, who did almost a similar presentation to Derek.
She did.
Really outlining the growth that's going on at the airport. It was pretty phenomenal.
At Airport City?
Yeah, Airport City, the hotel, the whole project. And upcoming, we've got Laura Turner-Seidel in January after the luncheon. So that's going to be a fun speaker. But I'm very excited about helping to organize the radio show moving forward, arranging some of the guests through the membership and trying to help increase our membership through those introductions through the radio show.
Absolutely. So we're excited to be a part of it as well. So as they say, stay tuned. We'll see you next time on the Buckhead Business Show.
Thank you for joining us and our guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of the Buckhead Business Show. Brought to you by the Buckhead Business Association.